As soon as they were out of the town center, Charlie sped up. Clay would be tired of dealing with the newest victim for a while, but eventually he would think to come to her father's house as well. She could only hope that she connected the dots first. You're on the same side! Charlie put a hand to her head and rubbed her temple. The impulse to guard her father's reputation from what was coming was visceral, but it was also nonsensical. Less than a mile from the house, they passed a construction site. It was set back too far from the road for Charlie to see what it was, though it looked like it was abandoned for a moment. I did work over there when I first got here, John said. Some huge demolition project, he laughed. You have some weird stuff out here. You wouldn't know by just looking at it. He studied the countryside for a moment. Isn't that the truth? Charlie said, and not if there was something else she was supposed to say. She was trying to calm herself. Finally, they came to her driveway. She pulled in her eyes on the gravel. The house, only a dark smudge in her peripheral vision. The last time Charlie had been here, she'd run in and out without pausing to look at anything. All she wanted was Theodore, and she had grabbed him and gone. Now she regretted her haste, wishing for some final mental image. You're not here to say goodbye. She turned off the car, steeled herself, and looked up. The house was surrounded by trees, and at least 3 of them had fallen, striking the roof directly. One landed squarely on the front of the door, crushing the walls beneath its weight. Charlie could see through the broken beams and the crumbled drywall. In the living room inside was only debris. The floor door was intact, though the steps to it were split and splintered. They looked as if they had given away as soon as they bore weight. Charlie had gotten out of the car and headed towards them. What are you doing? Joan's voice was alarmed. Charlie ignored him. She heard his door slam, and he caught her arm, wrenching her back. What? Charlie, look at this place. That house is going to fall over any day now. It's not going to fall. When she did gaze up again, the house seemed to be listing to the side, though it must have been an illusion. Surely the foundation itself couldn't have sunk. I'll be out before I get killed, I promise, she said more gently, and he nodded. Go slow. They carefully climbed up the stairs to the porch, staying close to the sides, but the wood was sturdier than it looked. They could have taken 3 steps to the right and walked through the open wall, but Charlie took out her key and unlocked the door as John waited patiently, letting her go through the unnecessary ritual. Inside, she paused at the front of the stairs to the 2nd floor. The holes in the ceiling were beaming down the shafts of the thin sunlight, dimming as the sun began to wane. It made the place feel almost like some sort of shrine. Charlie tore her eyes away from the holes and stared upstairs to her bedroom, as with the doorsteps. What? As with the outdoor steps, she kept to the side, holding to the banister. The water damage was visible everywhere, and reached out to touch the place where the paint had bubbled out from the wall, leaving a pocket of air. Suddenly a cracking sound came from behind her, and she spun around. John grabbed the banister, struggling to hold her on the stairs. As they gave way under him, Charlie reached out, but John braced himself unsteadily, hissing, gritted his teeth. "My foot's stuck," he said, nodding down. Charlie saw that his foot had gone clear through the wood. Now the jagged edges dug into his ankle. "Okay, hold on." She crouched down until she could reach him on the step below her, though the awkward angle made it hard to maintain her balance. The wood was only rotting in some places, while in others was still intact. She grabbed the smaller pieces and pulled them cautiously back from John's foot, her hands growing raw with rough and splintered surface. "I think I've got it," John finally said, flexing his ankle. She looked up and grinned, and I thought I was going to get myself killed. John gave her a weak smile. "How about we both make it out alive, right?" They made their way up to the rest of the stairs much more slowly, each of them testing their weight before they took the next step. "Careful," John warned as Charlie reached the top. "We won't be long here," Charlie said. She grew much more aware of the danger now. The house's instability grew more obvious. With each step they took, the foundation seemed to wobble from side to side as they moved. Her old bedroom was on the undamaged side of the house, or the side not struck by trees at least. Charlie looked in the doorway and John came up behind her. The floor was strewn with glass. One window had been broken by something, and the shattered glass had blown in the room. She took a deep breath. It was when she saw Stanley, the animatronic unicorn, had once run on track around her bedroom. Now he was lying on his side. Charlie went to him and sat down, pulling his head into her lap and patting his rusty cheek. He looked as if he'd been torn violently from his track. His legs were twisted, his hooves missing chunks. When she looked around the room, she saw the missing pieces still attached to the grooves in the floor. Stanley had seen better days. John smiled ruefully. "Yeah," Charlie said absently as she set the toy's head back on the floor. "John, can you turn that wheel?" She pointed to the cranks soldered together at the foot of her bed. He complied, crossing the floor agonizingly slowly. Charlie bit back her impatience. He turned the crank, and she waited for the littlest closet door to open, but nothing happened. John looked at Charlie expectantly. She stood and went to the wall where the 3 closets stood, closed and apparently untouched by the weather. Even the paint was bright and immaculate. Charlie hesitated, feeling as if she might be disturbing something that no longer belonged to her, then forced the smallest door open. Ella was there, the doll, who had been the same size as Charlie when she was much younger. She was like Stanley, and had run around on a track. She seemed to still be attached to it. She was entirely undamaged. Her dress was clean, and the tray she held in front of her was firm in her motionless hands. Her eyes had been gazing into the darkness the last time Charlie saw her. "Hi, Ella," Charlie said softly. "I don't suppose you can tell me what I'm looking for." She scanned the doll and quickly brushed at her dress. "You just want to stay in here from now on?" Charlie studied the tiny frame and the door. "I don't blame you." The door closed and the closet door again. Fuck!